On Saturday, February 18th, Luis Nery and Hovhannisyan came together for what I called going in the Bantamweight Bash, which also turned out to end up being, thus far, the fight of the year. Let's take a look back at what happened. What does it take to make Fight of the Year? Well, apparently, all you have to do is bring together bantamweights Luis Nery and Hovhannisyan, and there you have it. But seriously speaking, these two men came together on Saturday, February 18th, bringing with them the perfect contrast of styles. A typical boxer against a plodding puncher, slugger. And these men did not disappoint with their perfect contrast of styles. They brought excitement on this evening to the crowd that witnessed the fight live, as well as those who watched at home on television. It was a tremendous fight, and going in, not many people were into watching these young, small men because people do not have a tendency to invest in the lighter weight divisions. But this also represented the landmark ebb and flow of championship caliber fights with championship caliber fighters. We're talking about from the pulls and counters, the body shots, everything that they brought on this night was pleasing. Not to one another, because a lot of damage was meted out by both men upon one another. But it was the type of battle that in boxing, the basic boxing fan would sit there. You throw your popcorn in the air, you'll spit out your drink. It's like this was a barn burner of a fight, and that is by no means an exaggeration. We're talking about from things that you could see veritable infighting by both fighters. These men would take steps back at moments and instances, and then they would go right back into the fray. And though Nery, being the boxer of the two, he didn't run. He would step around, give angles, shoot his counters, and do exactly what he was supposed to do as the fight wore on. And Azat brought it with aggression. Sometimes he was a little bit reckless. His technique isn't as honed as Nery's, but my goodness, did the man show heart. And one of the things that was on display by both fighters that I really admired was the jab. Both fighters were using their jabs. Now, Nery was using his jab sort of as a counter, sort of as a probe, sort of as catching the guy coming in and as he would step away. However, Hovhannisyan, his jab was of a different level. He was jabbing to the body with both his left and right jabs to the pit of Nery's stomach, which began to sap the energy away from Nery, taking him from a most mobile guy to a less mobile guy as the fight wore on. That meant he would have to stand his ground and fight more than he necessarily may have wanted to. And this also brought about something more to come as the bout wore on. In this ebb and flow between these two fighters, I was able to observe all of the brutally delivered, punishing power shots that came from both men. There was damage to the face of Hovhannisyan from the counter punches of Nery. So Nery does have pop on his punches. But Hovhannisyan, being the elder statesman here, began to show the wear and tear from wars of the past. And face wasn't necessarily holding up, but his spirit held up just fine as he came in and bore it in. Nery was being challenged. His manhood was being challenged, his intestinal fortitude, and he answered the bell like a champ. I was concerned after his loss to Figueroa. Was he ready for this type of battle? Because I had a feeling that it was going to be this type of fight. And that's why my early prognosis was I felt that Hovhannisyan would edge this fight out. But there was something that Nery found. He found that not only was his hand speed a factor, but to be able to get the shots off in between whatever Hovhannisyan was doing, but to give that slight bit of movement where he can catch a breather, reset, and begin the action all over again. These two men pounded one another, and you could tell it was just simply from a competitive standpoint. At no time did I feel that either guy was doing dirty tactics, though a couple of punches strayed low for Hovhannisyan, and even a couple of times by Nery. It wasn't that they were trying to be dirty from one another. It was just the fact that they were engaged in the battle and punches stray from time to time. I loved the sportsmanship between the two men because they seemed to both have found a place in this particular fight where the respect came, and that respect allowed them to put something else on display. For Nery, it was the ability to absorb punishment, though I think rehydration had more to do with that than anything. He could possibly dispel my thoughts on that, but I think that he rehydrated to a place where he was able to absorb more of the physical punishment. The body work by Hovhannisyan was excellent. I mean, you could not have asked for more, and he was delivering. And Nery found it where he had to go for it because there were instances where he just had to do his best. But both men did what they could do. Their trainers and cornermen refreshing them and put them back out there, and they were out there to compete and compete at the highest level. At the time of the stoppage, which was a 11th round TKO for Nery, after dropping Hovhannisyan in the 10th, where I felt like Hovhannisyan may have trouble finishing the round, but he was able to do so. At the time of the stoppage, I had the fight even, 5 rounds apiece. And it was interesting because with the 2 knockdowns, well, what went on to become 2 knockdowns, Nery was pulling away. But hindsight, as I watched and scored that fight, it was just that type of a match. But salute to Luis Nery, who pulled this victory out, and salute to Azat Hovhannisyan, who battled as hard and tough as he could. I love this fight and look forward to what's coming next in 2023. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and liberated perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts were about this fight, and what would you feel that's next for Luis Nery, and after a long rest by both guys, what could be next for Hovhannisyan? Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.